we would like to welcome you to our Biennale, which we've done consistently now every 2 years. We'd like to also welcome you on behalf of what I like to call the CCNMTL Commune. This is our staff that was willing to allow their representations to be in public. So this is the crowd that does the work, and I call them a commune because it is a truly collaborative venture. There's no possibility that any one person can do anything alone. A special welcome to visiting colleagues from other colleges and universities, and I'm going to mention some of them, and if I leave any out, it's error of omission but not commission. Indiana University, St. John's University, the National September 11th Memorial and Museum, Princeton, Cornell University, Georgetown University, Seton Hall University, Colgate University, City College, Westchester Community College, University of Cologne from Germany, and many other folks coming from and representing many other organizations, and welcome to you. And also a welcome to our Columbia University colleagues who are our collaborators in all of our projects. According to the registration, there were people here from all 18 Columbia University schools. And we also include among our colleagues, of course, our cousins in the libraries. And I see a number of people here from the libraries. Welcome to you. What I would like to do as a way of an introduction is I'd like to, and this is going to make Maurice nervous because he didn't know about this technology that I was going to use that he wasn't able to prepare for. I'd like to use a very old technology. It's called the technology of images and places. In antiquity, when people had to memorize things and they didn't have access to PowerPoint, what they would do is they'd memorize a building and they'd place people in different rooms of the building or objects. And those objects would allow them to construct a speech without having to necessarily memorize the speech word by word, by moving through the building in their mind and then remembering the images that are in the building. So I've constructed a very simple building. It's got really 7 objects in it that will act as a kind of software environment for my introduction. In the 3 bedrooms of our small building, there are 3 groups, actually 2 individuals in 1 group. I'm in 1 bedroom, and I represent the Luddites. And what we're going to see is that in the bedrooms, we have all the people who have different attitudes towards the emergence of a new technology. And the Luddites, if you look at them in a very positive way, are basically the conservators, people who are deeply aware of the value and authenticity of the culture that is and was. So they tend to be looking towards the past. I know they're dismissed by people who are interested in technology as people who are not interested in seeing anything new come because they're creatures of habit. But those habits are effectively the legacy of everything else that's ever been done through time. So they're the conservators in 1 bedroom. In the other bedroom, I have Marshall McLuhan. And Marshall McLuhan is a visionary. He imagines utopias or possibilities that exceed anyone's ability to actually see that in practice. It forces the imagination to extend itself and to try to imagine new possibilities. And in the center room is the Center for New Media Teaching and Learning. And what the Center for New Media Teaching and Learning does, it tries to honor the past and the Luddites, when looked at positively as conservators. It tries to glimpse the visions of possibility that the visionaries bring to the table and use to provoke us into dislocating ourselves from our world of habit that the Luddites would like to have us stay in. But the way it does that is it makes things. So they're the pragmatists. In our middle room are the pragmatists. And the way that they work is that they make things that will help them both discover possibilities as well as actually create the future in the process of that act of discovery. So we are really the people interested in making things as an act of discovery. And I hope that you'll see that in the work that we present to you, that in each case, what we're doing is we're not only just providing a service, but we're providing a service with the intention that we then have an object to manipulate in order to learn. They're really like the Cuisenaire rods for a university. Now, I have two other rooms on the first floor, and actually I have two people in the living room on the first floor. I have a man named George Saliba, who is a professor in our East Asian language department. He was our first client, and he came to the Center for New Media Teaching and Learning because he had images of medieval Islamic scientific manuscripts that he had been using in his class for quite a long time, and he was wondering if we could help him with them. This is 9.5 years ago. And we did, and we developed a relationship with Professor Saliba and helped him with other things over time. And what he represents in our construction are the 3,500 people that the Center for New Media has worked with over the last 9.5 years. Now, in the other side of sitting on the other couch in my living room, is Professor Peter Bauer, who, at the very beginning of our efforts, came to the Center for New Media Teaching and Learning and said, I want to construct a simulation that will become the platform for my entire introduction to environmental science. And we built that simulation, and that simulation is still being worked on. As a matter of fact, that simulation is now used in dozens of universities and colleges around the country as the laboratory platform for an introduction to environmental science. And Peter Bauer represents the large projects that we've been doing over the past 9.5 years, probably in excess of about 250 at this point. Now, in the final location, in the basement, in the actual workshop of I'm describing my house to you, by the way, the actual basement where all the power tools are and where things are still in progress, we have really 3 objects, and I'm going to describe them very, very briefly. The first object is Butler Library, a model of Butler Library. Now, that library is there to remind me that somehow Butler Library is no longer the library. Libraries exist in cyberspace. And one of the great challenges to universities and to educators around the world is the reinvention of libraries. And we are blessed at this university to having such an extraordinary group of librarians who have now been able to, in the NFL standings of libraries, raise its status from 11th to 3rd in the last 7 or 8 years. And we are aggressively now, in the context of one strategic initiative called Digital Bridges, working to understand more deeply how to mobilize those powerful digital resources in Columbia University's classrooms, and of course, hopefully as a model for others, and often in collaboration with others. The other object, I have a globe in my workshop, and the globe represents a second strategic initiative of ours, and that initiative has to do with global learning. This university is very committed to extending its boundaries beyond Columbia and collaborating and producing solutions that are the result of different groups of people coming together, addressing and attending to world problems. The Earth Institute, the Global Research Centers, and ranges of other entities at the university committed and devoted to that. While our Global Learning Strategic Initiative attempts to provide digital traction to those efforts, and we have a number of presentations today that will represent that. And then lastly, our third object is a triangle. The triangle represents what we call our Triangle Initiative. And that initiative tries to respond to the well springs of energy at this university that are attempting to address significant human problems. And you're going to hear about two of the Triangle Initiative efforts today that have to do with HIV/AIDS intervention, and secondly, one that has to do with criminal justice in collaboration with our law school. So we have these three new thrusts that are extensions of our essential mission to provide services, to do projects, to create visible heuristics that help us to both create and discover the future. And what we intend today to be is a slice of our lives, a slice of our activities, so that you are able to get some sense of what we're working on. And hopefully, as a result of your time with us today, if you are not already collaborators, and I do see many people here who are our collaborators, you will become our collaborators. So I want to welcome you, and I want to ask you to pay attention to the schedule that has been given to you. The locations are pretty straightforward. The faculty room is directly behind me. There'll be people at the exits that will provide you with directions so that you know where you're going. So I'm delighted that you're all here, and I'll be around most of the day and pleased to talk with anyone who would like to. Welcome again.